Okay, this is Marcus and DeMarcus here with another video after a time span of about 2 to 3 years. We might get a chance, maybe not in this video, but in the video to come, to tell our experience going from East Texas to Botswana, about 3.5 years in Botswana, a little over 3.5 years in Botswana, to now the land of Gilead, here in Jordan on the border of Israel and Syria. And we're going to talk about this place here and the places that we have visited, because the title of this video is The Wilderness Revealed. And this is very important. So what we're going to do is we're going to get right to it. I'm not going to keep you in too much suspense. So let's start out with reading Revelation 12.
And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent.
So we see here that there is a wilderness that is prepared for the woman. Go ahead.
And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, and that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth.
Okay, so now this wilderness is not just a wilderness for just the people of God, but it's also a place of safety. So if there's a place of safety here on this earth, I want to be there. Okay, go ahead.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
So now we see that there was a woman in the wilderness, and there was a remnant of a seed that wasn't there. Now, the remnant of her seed did not have the protection that the woman had in the wilderness. So this is why this is really, really important, because either you're going to be in a place of safety or you're going to be a victim of the dragon. So this is what we need to look at real closely. Now, let's go to Revelation chapter 14, and we'll read 1 through 4.
And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Sion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads.
So when John looked, he saw the lamb, which is Jesus. And this is something that we're going to have to give authority back. We're going to give authority back to Jesus, because the thing is that we got a lot of people out there leading people away from Jesus. The authority is Jesus, and Jesus is the number one source of your salvation. If you try to go around any other way and use any other names other than Jesus and try to obtain the kingdom of heaven without him, then you're going to have a problem. Go ahead, let's read.
And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne, and before the 4 beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth.
Okay, so now this 144,000 was redeemed from earth. And now as we read in verse 4, let's go down to verse 4 real quick.
These are they which were not defiled with woman, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb.
So the virgin, when the Bible talks about the marriage supper of the Lamb, and when Jesus talked about the 5 wise and 5 foolish virgins, one set was prepared, another set was not. And when the Lamb did came, and when the bridegroom came, the foolish was not ready. And here it says that there was 144,000 which was with the Lamb when he came, which was with Jesus when he came. Now, he said that these were redeemed from among men. So, to speed this process up, we're going to do another video. And the other video is going to talk about the redemption process. So, in order to be in the wilderness, you first have to be redeemed among men. Now, he also talked about those that was redeemed from the grave. So, in the redemption, we're going to talk about the difference between those that was redeemed from among men, which was those that was ready, and those who was redeemed from the grave. So we already could see this already, that the ones that was redeemed from among men was the ones that was in the wilderness. And the ones that were redeemed from the grave was the ones who the dragon made war with. So this is why it is really important that you know where the wilderness is, and that the wilderness is revealed to you through the Holy Spirit. So when he said here in verse 1 that he seen the Lamb stand on Mount Zion, this is what we need to know. Where is Mount Zion? Okay, so before we go any further, I want to show you this video. Now, the video that you just watched is Zion. And how do we know this? And how do we know that this is part of the wilderness? First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this according to the Word of God, and then we're going to pinpoint exactly the direction. So what you were seeing there is the Golden Heights, and what you saw was Mount Hermon. And when you can see that on any map. Okay, so how do we come to this conclusion? Let's go to the Word of God. Let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 4. And we start at verse 47.
And they possessed his land, and the land of Og, king of Bashan, 2 kings of the Amorites, which were on this side Jordan toward the sun rising. Okay,
so now we're going to use Bashan as a key here, because the possession, he said they possessed his land and the land of Og, king of Bashan, the 2 kings of the Amorites. On the Jordan River, he said, on the side of the sun rising. So the side of the sun rising is on the east. The sun rise in the east. Okay, go ahead.
From Aroer, which is by the bank of the river Arnon, even unto Mount Sion, which is Hermon.
So it says clearly here that Mount Zion is Hermon. So when we just read in Revelation, he said, I seen the 144,000, the Lamb and the 104,000 standing on Mount Zion. So now Zion, which is Mount Hermon, which it says here, is one place, and in Jerusalem the name was given Mount Zion. Now when David went in to and conquered the area of Jerusalem, and his palace or his house was built on the Mount Zion in Jerusalem, that name was given. But beforehand, Zion had been destined as Mount Hermon from the beginning. But we're going to see more clues to let you know that. Okay, go ahead.
And all the plain on this side Jordan eastward, even unto the sea of the plain under the springs of Pisgah.
Okay, so let's look at Psalms. The book of Psalms, chapter 68.
The hill of God is at the hill of Bashan.
Now, it said the hill of God is as the hill of Bashan. Now, that's not in Jerusalem. It's Bashan. Go ahead.
And high hill as the hill of Bashan.
Mm-hmm.
Why leap ye high hills? This is the hill which God desireth to dwell in. Yeah, the Lord will dwell in it forever.
Now, Bashan, when you read, Bashan was given to the area of Bashan was given to the tribe of Manasseh. Okay, so Manasseh covered part of Gilead and Bashan. So we're going to look at this map here. This map is going to show us the side where the Bashan is, which is next to the tribe of Manasseh. Now we're going to leave that there because that's not enough by itself. Now let's look at Isaiah chapter 9. Isaiah chapter 9.
Nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation. When at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali,
Mm-hmm.
and afterward did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan in Galilee of the nations.
So it's saying here that the land of Naphtali and the land of Zebulun had a time of affliction. But that time of affliction had passed for them. Now let's keep reading.
The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined. Thou hast multiplied the nation and not increased the joy. They joy before thee according to the joy in harvest, and as men rejoice when they divide the spoil.
Now, he's saying, what it's saying here, that the people that dwelt in Zebulun and Naphtali, he said that those that was walking in darkness, they're seeing a great light. And with that light came a harvest, a joy, a rejoicing, a dividing of the spoil. So he's saying here that in Zebulun and Naphtali, they seen a light, and a light shine on them. So in a time of darkness, a light shine. Okay, so when you go back to the go back to the map. The map shows again the area of Naphtali. Then you see Manasseh, Naphtali. Then in Psalms it says Bashan. So it's only one. When you say Zebulun, Naphtali, and when you say East Manasseh, or when you just say, excuse me, the area of Bashan, it's going to point you into that same area where Mount Hermon is located, which is the same area that you saw on the video. But to give more clarity to this, let's go to Matthew chapter 16, verse 13 through 15.
When Jesus came into the coasts of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, "Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?"
Okay, this question here was asked to his disciples on the coast of Caesarea Philippi. Now, when you look on the map, on the other map, it's going to show exactly where Caesarea Philippi is located. Now, when you look up there, when it says Jesus, Peter says Jesus is the Messiah, that is at Mount Hermon. So now we need to pay attention exactly to what's going on in that area and what Jesus is saying about it. Let's go.
Verse 14. And they said, "Some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elias, and others Jeremias, or one of the prophets." He saith unto them, "But whom say ye that I am?" And Simon Peter answered and said, "Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered and said unto him, "Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it."
So Jesus was in Caesarea Philippi, and he said to Peter, he said, "Now see, you are Peter," which is a pebble. And he said, "Upon this rock." So when he's talking about a rock, he's talking about the mountain. He's saying, "Upon this rock, upon this mount, shall I build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." Now, how did I know he's talking about the area of Mount Hermon? Let's keep reading. Okay, this is verse 27. Go ahead.
"For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom."
So this come all the way back around. He's saying that there are going to be people standing here that shall not taste death until they see the coming of the Son of Man. Now, what people are he talking about? He's talking about the same people that we was looking at in Revelation chapter 14, the 144,000. He said they're going to be standing here. Where is here? Where the area that he was at, which was Caesarea Philippi. Okay, what's in Caesarea Philippi, or in the coast of Caesarea Philippi, is Mount Hermon, which is Zion. This is consistent all the way through. But we're gonna keep looking, because the thing is, let's go one chapter over to the verse 1 of 17.
"And after 6 days Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John his brother, and bringeth them up into a high mountain apart."
So the same place he stayed there for 6 days, and on the seventh day he brought them up on the mountain. Now, if you go back to Exodus, you will see in Exodus that Moses, when God the Father came down on the mountain, he stayed there at the bottom of the mountain for exactly 6 days. And then the seventh day, the Lord called him up on the mountain. The Lord was trying to tell you something. in all of this. Let's keep reading.
And was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light.
Okay, so he was transfigured on this same mountain. So as we read in Isaiah chapter 9, it says that the light shall dawn in this same area in the land of Naphtali, but beyond the Jordan. Caesarea Philippi is beyond the Jordan. When you look that up in the Hebrew, it means the east side of the Jordan. Look at this description here. This description here clearly shows that Mount Hermon is the highest of all mountains in Israel. And when he said they took them up on a high mount, that means this mountain right here was higher. And if you look at Mount Hermon, is higher than every mountain in Israel, which gives the same view. And this is the reason why we went there, to show you, and to show you the area so that you would understand the place that the Lord is going to prepare for his people. So this is something we need, or a place that we need to be seeking the Lord on, because he said, I'm going to give you wings. I'm going to give you wings that you may fly swiftly to that place. Now, the confusion is that people are naming wilderness all over the place. And the thing is, when you deal with the 5 wise and 5 foolish version, it was the point when they was in confusion. Give us some of my oil. Give me some of your oil, for our lamp has gone out. No, we can't, unless we not have enough of ourselves. So what that let us know, that at the time the Lord come, you got to know. There's not going to be a time where you need to figure it out, where you're trying to figure it out. You're going to have to know, and you're going to have to know you're going to have to know now. Okay?
And a lot of people want to put themselves in the position of the 144,000 and in priestly positions and high authority positions, and they just want to throw Jesus out of the window and go straight before God. But Peter, James, and John was on that mountain with Jesus. God came there himself and said, listen to my son. I put him in charge. Mm-hmm. So that's what we need to do. We need to listen to Jesus. At the when it's all said and done, it will be revealed who his people are.
Exactly. Because if you try to go around, all the prophecies and everything lines up with Christ. He's the source. Because if you didn't know about Mount Zion, and if you don't know what 144,000 is going to be, you're going to be stuck out, and a war is going to be made against you. But if you trust in Jesus, he will lead you out. He will lead you out. So the source of all of this is called the Lamb's Refuge. And a lot of people try to go out and try to leave America and are unsuccessful. And the reason why is because they didn't make Jesus Christ his shepherd, their shepherd. He the one have to lead you out, and not man, and not what man says. And that's why we have done this. We have done it to show that the power of God is true through his son. And his son is going to make you successful. But I tell you this, if you try to go another route, we're going to see what's going to happen. Let's go to Galatians chapter 4. And then we'll read verse 23 to 26.
But he who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh, but he of the free woman was by promise. Which things are an allegory? For these are the 2 covenants, the one from the Mount Sinai, which gendereth to bondage, which is Agar.
And we're going to talk about this once again in another video dealing with the redemption. Because the thing is, when they broke the covenant, the Lord resold them back into the nations. See, so first you have to be brought out. You have to be redeemed. Then a covenant is established with you. Okay, so a covenant could not be established with Israel while they was in Egypt. They first had to be redeemed from Egypt. Then a covenant was established with them. But because of their disobedience, this covenant here was associated with bondage, which was to lead them to death because of their disobedience. Now go ahead.
For this Agar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answereth to Jerusalem, which now is and is in bondage with her children.
So Jerusalem, along with Sinai, is associated with the covenant that genders unto bondage. This is the reason why another place, another mountain, another form of wilderness was set up, because the covenant that genders unto bondage is surrounded by Jerusalem and its temple and its covenant. This is the reason why the temple has been destroyed, because the Jerusalem is to lay under desolation until the times of the Gentiles is fulfilled. Well, we see that the Gentiles are in power, so Jerusalem is still under bondage. So you know not to be looking in that area until all is fulfilled and all has been restored.
As long as the Dome of the Rock is in Jerusalem, that's not the place. As long as you are in the place of your slavery, you are not free.
Exactly. And it will stay there until the Lord delivers it. So anybody who's trying to keep a covenant that's already been gendered unto bondage and already been broken, and the people that's associated with that covenant has been sold into the nations, even including us, we have to look for another form of redemption. Okay, and that redemption is in Christ. Okay, so we're going to talk about that as we go on. I mean, in other videos. Go ahead.
Verse 26, but Jerusalem which is above is free, which is the mother of us all.
So this mountain that Jesus is talking about, he said, I'm going to rebuild my church here. And the church here, the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Where is that at? That's in Mount Zion. Okay, that's in Hermon. Okay, so let's skip just to get further clarity. Now he's saying here, one Jerusalem is in bondage, and then another Jerusalem that is above is free. Let's clarify that. Go ahead. Let's read Hebrews chapter 12.
For ye are not come unto the mount that might be touched, and that burned with fire, nor unto blackness and darkness and tempest.
So he's saying here that this mountain here that you haven't, he said now the mountain that you come to is not a mountain of blackness, darkness, loud horns and fire. So what mountain is that? We already know that's Mount Sinai. Go ahead.
And the sound of a trumpet and the voice of words, which voice they that heard entreated that the words should not be spoken to them anymore.
Mm-hmm. These are for people who try to go around Jesus and try to have direct access to God. You're going to find out real quickly that you can't stand before him. Okay, so that's why there's a mediator. That's why there's a high priest.
Because technically the people of God, the people of Jesus never dealt with the Father. All the way back to Abraham, to Moses, to everybody. We've always been dealing with Jesus. It's just now he has revealed himself as someone else and given us another form of salvation in him.
Which is another covenant. The Bible said no man seen God at any time. So who was it? Who was Abraham and them looking at? They was looking at Jesus. And he said, before Abraham was, I am. And the Bible still comes back, and we're going to look at that later on, that your Redeemer, your Maker is your Redeemer. Your Maker is your Redeemer. And who is your Redeemer? He said, we are redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. So all this about, the Father and all these sacrifices that we do in the form of the old covenant is unacceptable in the outside of the Father. The only way you're going to be acceptable unless Jesus Christ's blood covers you and presents you faultless before God. That's it. Go ahead. Let's read.
Verse 20. For they could not endure that which was commanded. And if so much as a beast touch the mountain, it shall be stoned, or thrust through with a dart. And so terrible was the sight that Moses said, I exceedingly fear and quake.
Because God wants to let you know you can't, you flesh. You can't come before him. You have to be made perfect. And then the Bible said no man could come unto the Father except he called him. He a king. What king do you know of this earth that you can just walk up and just go in front of him? None. So what makes you think you can go before the Father? You can't do that. Okay, go ahead.
But ye are come unto Mount Sinai.
Okay, there we go again. There it is. Okay, go ahead.
And unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels.
So the Bible said that the host of heaven in Exodus came down with God on Mount Sinai. But people couldn't come near him. But he's saying now the heavenly Jerusalem, through your Redeemer, through your Shepherd, Jesus Christ, he said, now you are able to come unto Mount Zion. So why is it that people are not coming? We're going to talk about that too. And has the Lord called? Yes, he has called. Why haven't people come? As you saw in the video, there was no one there. Okay, so we know at some point it's going to be people there, and it's going to be the church of God there. So he's saying there, Mount Zion, unto the city of the living God, unto heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels. Go ahead.
To the general assembly and church of the firstborn.
So there's the church again. There's the firstborn. The 144,000 was what? First fruits that have been redeemed from among men. Okay? So there you go. It's saying it over and over. Go ahead.
Which are written in heaven, and to God the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect, and to Jesus the mediator of the new covenant, and to the blood of sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel.
So Jesus had to be the mediator in order for you to approach Mount Zion. And Jesus said, whoever believes in me shall not be ashamed. Whoever believes in me shall be saved. Okay, so if you allow Jesus to be your mediator, if you allow him to be your shepherd, he will lead you out. Now for us, we've been on a journey for 3.5 years. And the people that we see talking, the people that was talking when we left 3.5 years ago, is still talking now in the same place. is still debating and wrestling over the word when the Lord has made it plain in these times what his people should be doing and what his people should be asking for. But see, nobody is asking because people really believe that the place that they at is better than anywhere else, when it's actually the opposite. If you're not in the wilderness and you are a person of the Lord, the dragon is going to make war with you. And at that time, we know that some, the Lord say, be ye faithful unto death, and you shall get a crown of life. And then others, it says that the earth would help them. Now, do you think that the Lord is going to protect you in the midst of a land full of corruption and all of that? No, you're going to have to separate yourself. Okay? So, this is something that I shouldn't be talking about 3 years later, and people are saying the same thing. And almost 4 years later, and people still talking. And matter of fact, even when we left, people kind of just ignored the situation. You know why? Because they think that the Lord is going to save them in their situation. Yeah, the Lord is going to save you from the power of the grave. So this is going to be important. That we're going to do a series of videos and to make this even clearer, to give a complete understanding that the Lord did choose his place that his people is going to be. And he's going to choose the land of Galilee as the source for that all people to come, even when it's all over, even in the resurrection, all people are going to come there and present themselves to the Lord. Then Jerusalem will be reestablished and rebuilt. But he said this is the place that you're going to live in tents until this thing is done, just like the children of Israel who came up out of Egypt.
Yep. It's not 5, 10, 15 years down the line. It's if we are here right now today, November the 8th, if we are here today, 2019, that means it's right around the corner.
Amen. So until the next time, peace.